our final lesson on informational reports. Today we're going to do a quick review of text features and talk about how we can add them in to our published final copy. As we've been reading, you may have noticed maps, photographs with captions, and headings. Those are some of the different text features that you will find in nonfiction writing. We're going to read through another informational report and talk about a couple more different text features that you might be interested in adding to your report.
Hurricanes. Katrina, Matthew, and Irene are just a few of the names of different hurricanes that have created chaos over the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Weather experts have been naming hurricanes since the early 1950s. The World Meteorologist Organization found it to be easier to write and communicate about hurricanes when they had actual names. What is a hurricane? A hurricane is considered a natural disaster or a natural event that causes great damage or a loss of a life. More specifically, a hurricane is a violent tropical storm having winds higher than 72 miles per hour. These storms can be called other names as well. For example, in the northern Indian Ocean, they are known as cyclones, and in the western Pacific Ocean, they are known as typhoons. No matter what they're called, they are extremely destructive and can cause heavy flooding, damaging winds, landslides, and many deaths. How are they formed? There are several things that need to happen for a hurricane to form. First, the ocean water needs to be fairly warm, more than 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Next, winds need to come together and flow toward each other, creating pressure and moving them upward. Then, winds flow up higher and outward while humid air rises. Last, the lighter winds outside of the hurricane steer it, allowing it to grow bigger and bigger, thus forming a very powerful hurricane. What are the parts of a hurricane? Like humans, insects, and animals, there are parts that make up a hurricane. Hurricanes have 3 different parts. One of the parts that make up these powerful storms is called the eye. The eye of the hurricane is the center of the storm. The entire storm will rotate around the eye of the hurricane. It is the calmest area of the storm. Another part of the hurricane is the eye wall. The eye wall surrounds the eye and has the strongest wind and rains of the storm. The last part of a hurricane are rain bands. These are the clouds that spin around and make the storm bigger. They have a range of 50 to 300 miles long. Every hurricane is made up of these 3 parts. Hurricanes are dangerous, life-threatening storms that need to be taken seriously. However, understanding what they are, how they are formed, and their parts can be your first step in being prepared for these natural disasters. So, what are some of the different text features that you noticed? You may have seen headings. I also noticed bold type. And over here, this picture has labels on it, which means it's not just any old picture. This is a diagram. It's a diagram of a hurricane. They've labeled the eye wall, the bands of rain, and showing how it rotates. We've talked about text features at school, so you should know some others. This kind of reviews some of the different text features you might have heard about. A table of contents, an index, a glossary, headlines, which is like our title, subheadings, different types of print, so bold, highlighted, underlined, or italic words, diagrams, pictures and captions, and charts and graphs. And these are not all of the text features, but these are a lot of the common ones that you will see. For our informational report, we would probably be using something from the bottom 6. We won't necessarily have a full-on table of contents, index, or glossary because we're not writing books and things that are really long, but if you do have some hard vocabulary words, you might put a glossary at the end of your report just so your readers know what those words are. If you need more examples of nonfiction text features, you can always look around your house in nonfiction books or magazines or newspapers and kind of see how they lay things out. This is another example of what text features can look like. This one has a table of contents, the headline and subheadings, and you can see that they've made the headline the biggest, so your title's the biggest. Subheadings are a little bit bigger, they made them bold, and then they included, there's a picture of a shark with a caption. It's also a diagram because they've labeled the different parts. There's some bold print to draw the reader's eye. So they're incorporating a lot of our different text features. Think about your report now and what type of text feature might best fit in your report. For me, I'm writing about a person, so I might want to include a picture of that person. If you're writing about an animal or a sport, you might include a picture of that as well. If you are writing about a place, you might have a map as one of your text features. So just kind of think about what makes the most sense based on your topic. So I've decided, I mentioned Alexandria, Egypt, where she was born, that I'm going to include a map and a picture of Cleopatra as my two text features. When you go about incorporating these into your published copy, there's a couple different ways you can do it, and it really depends on if you're going to write by hand or type. And I'm going to go over both ways. Okay, so if I'm going to write it by hand, this is my publishing paper I'm going to use. I need to kind of decide where I want those text features to be and then leave some space so I can go back when I'm done writing and put them in. So if I look at my writing, I think I'll include a map of where Alexandria, Egypt is next to this first paragraph. And then I'll put my picture of Cleopatra somewhere in between my second and third subtopics. Okay, so I wrote my introduction and I want to include a map next to my first subtopic paragraph. So before I start writing it, I'm just going to kind of space out an area on my page where I can go put that map in when I'm done writing. So as I wrote this paragraph, I made sure to space it around this square that I put over here. I still indented the beginning of my paragraph, and then the rest of it went back over to that line and then over all the way to my left-hand side as I finished out that paragraph. And then I can either print out a picture, this is going to be my map of Alexandria, or I can draw one in myself. And I'm just going to keep writing and leave some space for my illustration of Cleopatra towards the end. So as you can see, I left a box here as well where I can add in an illustration of Cleopatra, and now I just have to decide, do I want to draw these in myself or do I want to print something off of the computer? And either way works. And we know if you're drawing something in yourself that it might not be perfect, and that's okay. So I drew my map out in pencil first, and now I'm going to trace over it. And if you're drawing in something yourself, I would always suggest doing it in pencil first in case you don't like it and want to change it. Done. I've got my title, who it's by, my introduction, my subtopic paragraphs, my conclusion, and my text features, and I went ahead and included a caption with both of them.
So now that I've got my report typed up, I've kind of played with the font size to get it where I like it. I'm going to add in my text features. And I already went online and I searched for a picture of Cleopatra and a map of Alexandria, Egypt, because those were the two text features I decided to include. And I've saved them over here on my desktop. And then I'm just going to drag them into my document and kind of play around with the sizing and the spacing. This one's about where she was born, so I'm putting it next to that paragraph, and then the picture of her. And again, you can adjust your spacing as you want. And you might need to ask a parent for help with this. I'm going to add some captions to mine so people know what they are. So I'm adding in a text box to go underneath. Again, you can play around with the size. And then this is Alexandria, Egypt. And I'll make that a little smaller. And then my other one is a drawing of Cleopatra. So again, I'm going to drag a text box underneath the image and write my caption. And that's it. Once you have your text features in, then you are ready to print. So that's it, guys. We're done. If you typed it, you can submit it digitally on Moodle or through email. And if you wrote it by hand, you can always take a picture of it to either submit on Moodle or to email. I can't wait to read y'all's reports. Bye, guys.